The decline in COVID-19 numbers, there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel for most people. But how has the pandemic affected the cost of living? Our reporters are on the ground to explore the impact of rising prices and the pandemic on livelihoods. We've got Nqobile Madlala, who is with me in studio. We've got Ayesha Ismail, who is in Cape Town for us, and Dasen Thathiah, who is in Durban for us. Nqobile, we'll start with you. What are the small businesses that were affected by the pandemic telling you?
Well, quite simply put, Clement, they are struggling. That's what they are saying. They've been telling me that money is an issue at this point. They're talking about the fact that moving a business from one place to the next, whether you're scaling down or not, is a lot of cost. So you're looking at the moving of the business, you're looking at the money that is spent on the road, but also because they had to scale down in terms of staff, had to scale down in terms of their menus. This has been very difficult for them. And also moving to a different place means that they lose some of the customers along the way. So it's been very difficult for them. And what they're saying is that it would help if relief funds were easier accessible, because at this point they're finding themselves where the business needs money now, but the relief fund can only come to them after 6 months. And even then, this is something that they're not sure if they are going to get. So some of them saying that it's been such a difficult time and all they want is some form of assistance, even if it means that the government itself goes to their landlords and say, okay, this is how much you can pay in terms of the tax and rates. But this is a very difficult time for them. I did speak to some of them, and let's just listen into what they had to say.
We are not going to give anybody a flat rate, and I'm going to give an example as to why. We have 11 million residents and businesses that we cater for. The amount or the levels of their properties are not the same. So imagine me doing, of course we've got calls for 150 flat rate across, you know. Imagine us agreeing to the flat rate and we're saying to the Soweto people.
I would have to say, firstly, if they understand what we're going through as small business owners in the city, that's the start for us actually to getting help. We've lost so many employees through this pandemic. We've lost so much money. I think one of the things is closing down a business is not easy, and it's more expensive than actually just opening it up. But we would like to tell politicians and them understand that actually coming down to the people and understanding those rates, those red tapes, those certificates, those small things actually are the ones which are actually hindering us. And this pandemic just exposed the amount of work which is needed to be done in that space for small businesses in general.
So, Nqobile, we started playing the bite of the MMC, first responding to the issue of flat rates, because this is what some businesses have been requesting from the city of Johannesburg.
Well, definitely. So they are asking for the flat rates. From what we've heard, they're asking for 150 Rand flat rate. But now the MMC is basically saying, if you own a bigger space and I own a smaller space and you pay 150 and I pay 150, how's that fair in terms of transactions? So they're saying that these are estimates, or rather the numbers are there because of how much use you use and how much you owe, or what you owe. And this is why then that it's not possible, it's not viable for the city of Joburg to give people or businesses this flat rate. So therefore she's just responding, explaining to us that this is even though it's important for the businesses because they are finding themselves at a very tough time, and it's not ending now because they're still counting the cost. This is something that the city unfortunately cannot give them, but they are saying that their doors are open. They're saying that if you SMS, if you call, they are available. She was even saying that she has an open door policy, which means if you are there and you want to speak to her and she has the time, she can explain these things. But of course we do know that she might not always have the time to speak to the people, but she's saying that she does have that open door policy, and they are looking into going on the ground to speaking to the people, because a lot of businesses are saying that because now it's election time, they're seeing some presence from the political parties, but when there was a time when they needed them the most, they were not there.
Yeah. Nqobile, I want to move to our reporter in Cape Town now, Ayesha Ismail. Ayesha, thank you. What are the people you spoke to telling you about how they've been impacted?
Clement, having spent a couple of hours with dozens of people in the Mitchells Plain area, it just gives one a glimpse of what people are going through. And I mean, this is not even the bigger picture. Those of us who have regular incomes and who have jobs have absolutely no idea what people are going through. I mean, if people with jobs are already struggling, can you imagine people who do not have any income, what they are going through? Now, I spoke to some of the informal traders and also the regular traders in the Mitchells Plain town centre, and they were telling me how they are struggling. They were telling me about how, you know, services are going up, electricity, water rates. They were also saying that when they go to the market, vegetables, fruit, everything is going up, and it's so difficult for them to make a profit. But even, you know, while they are not making enough money for themselves, they are still happily and helping other people, poorer people in their communities, cooking food and giving this to them. I spoke to the chairperson of the Hawkers Association in the Mitchells Plain Town Centre, and this is what she had to say.
The prices of the lights that they are charging us. We are in small kiosks here. We are not big retail traders. We are only small traders. But our electricity is sky high. My electricity for the month works out to 3,000 Rand a month. And if I buy a 50 Rand electricity, I get 10 units for 50 Rand. And they're charging us the same price for our electricity as what the big shops Pick and Pay and those, but they're charging us the same price. And besides that, due to the COVID, we have lost a lot of our people here in the town centre. A lot of them have lost their businesses here because there's no money here. And those that are here are surviving only on the little bits that they are earning.
Yeah, all right, let's head over to Durban in KwaZulu-Natal now. Dasen, what are you hearing on your side?
Well, just like my colleagues there, small businesses have been hit, but then it's also the normal citizen that's living here. I mean, I started the day off talking to a lady who had really been dealt a raw deal over the past 2 years. She lost her job just before COVID, the pandemic struck. And then at that time, she was already in dire straits. But when COVID-19 really came into full effect and the lockdown started, that's when she felt it, and she ended up being evicted. She was on the street with her children as well as her mother, and it was just through the goodwill of the church that she had attended that she was able to have a place to stay. The church took her in, and that pastor also then later gave her an apartment, which she's now starting to rebuild. She's just started a job. Now, add to all of this, Clement, the municipal bills that people have to pay, the rising costs such as fuel and transportation, and all of this, residents are saying to us, is just too much to bear. Just recently, the municipality here had raised its electricity tariff by about 15%, something that the municipality had described as a modest increase, saying that it had shielded the consumer from most of this. But for people that are already suffering, that is still a lot. Now, as I'm saying this, I can also tell you that the municipality does have an indigent policy which caters to the poorest in the city, but there are others who are still in a position where they don't qualify for that policy, such as is the case of the former small business owners. They still have some income as they're trying to put together other plans. I spoke to a gentleman in Avoca today, Mr. Lucky Mlambo. He says that his business crashed in December 2020, but ever since then he's been trying his hand at farming. He's been trying to apply for other jobs. He's been trying to make ends meet in any which way that he could, but despite that, he's still struggling. Let's listen into some of that interview that I did with Mr. Mlambo earlier.
When the hard lockdown started in April last year, it was difficult to do any business. We had to shut down the operations from the office, and you could not do any follow-up, you could not service any clients, you could not do anything from home. And when you still trying to figure out what to do, you have expenses, you have office that you need to still pay rental for. You still have to maintain other expenses, your household expenses as well. The banks are trying to make arrangements, how you're going to pay this and that. So it has been difficult. And for the whole year now, since that period till now, I haven't been doing anything. Obviously, you're still trying to see if you can still open your company, your business.